Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of GLP's 10 out of 10. And this week, we have with us lighting designer Tom Sutherland. British-born Tom is the founder and lead designer of DX7 Design, who have offices in London, Los Angeles, where we find him today, and Shanghai. Starting his career from when he was in high school, Tom soon moved into the world of television with stints as a moving light technician and programmer before progressing onto the role of lighting designer. DX7 has now grown to encompass a variety of different lighting genres, including live concerts, product launches, video specials, corporate events, and much more. Tom has been fortunate enough to have worked on iconic shows such as Strictly Come Dancing, American Idol, Britain's Got Talent, The X Factor, and Dancing with the Stars, as well as collaborating and creating shows with some of the world's most famous artists, including Beyoncé, Jennifer Lopez, Pitbull, Rihanna, Elton John, Adam Lambert, and One Direction. Tom is Emmy nominated and was also the youngest designer to ever be nominated for a Night of Illumination award. In fact, he's been nominated 5 times and walked away with one of the coveted swords in 2018 for his design of the Pitbull Time of Our Lives residency at Planet Hollywood in Las Vegas. Tom likes to make his designs feel fresh, young, individual, and innovative. He says each show is an exciting challenge and says, I always dream respectfully and I always dream big. Welcome, Tom Sutherland.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, then. So the format, we've got our 10 questions. So let's kick it off with the first one. So what was your first show as a designer?
So my first show as a designer was actually the Red Hot Chili Peppers did a one-off concert for BBC's Radio 1 that was televised on, it was called the Red Button back then, where you could hit, it was almost like interactive on demand as we know it now.
Right.
So it was done on that and also done online. The BBC Radio 1 would kind of approach artists and pick a iconic London venue. This one was Coco, which I think is actually closed down currently. And so that was my first proper real gig as a lighting designer.
Wow, that's not a bad name to be associated with for you.
No, I remember it was there was an LD who I worked a lot with as his programmer, a guy called Roger Williams, who's still a great friend of mine, and he got asked to do it, but he was doing another show up in Scotland, so it kind of filtered down the line to me, and it was, of course, one of those where you were like, all right, I'll give it a shot. And so, yeah, I did, and what a great first gig to pick up.
Right. No pressure, though. Like, was it live on the BBC, or?
No, I don't think we were live on this one. But, yeah, we were in front of a full audience of I think that place holds just under 2,000 people, so yeah, a decent crowd.
Right. Fantastic. Now, obviously, working as internationally as you do all around the world with all these different kinds of projects, you've mentioned a few of them. I'm sure at some point you've had a bit of a spinal tap moment where things just didn't quite go to plan. So have you got one you're able to share with us?
Oh God, yeah, there's a few. Certainly, I think what I've always found tricky about whenever you work in different territories is you're in their world, and we've been in many situations. I think, especially in China, where, for example, a massive arena New Year's show, I think 3 years ago, this one was, where they'd forgotten to book the generators. Oh. And so we have a 6-hour live show on New Year's Eve, and we're 2 days before this, and there's still no power to the rig. Oh. And this is like 2.5 hours of light. So, I mean, the time you need just to get that system teched and up and running and focused and stuff alone, I would say, is minimum of a week to 10 days before you'd even start programming the show. And I think we had 2 or 3 days to pull this entire thing together, and it's just like keeping your calm. Like, then that you're in it. That potentially it's not going to be the perfect picture that you'd ever imagine, but you just have to deal with the parameters that you're kind of dealt with. And as long as everyone clubs together, as long as the team will know that's the case. And as an LD, it's your job to keep the positivity and keep them driving forward. So that was certainly, I think, one of the most gulp moments, that sobering moments that I've had to deal with on something of that scale.
Right. Brilliant. Okay. So what's the best piece of advice that anyone has ever given to you, either professionally or otherwise?
I think the best piece of advice professionally, I think, is just be nice and be respectful.
Right.
I mean, as long, like, no matter who you're dealing with, no matter who you're talking to, that person has a role. Whether that person is a junior person or is a senior person, they've been given a role in that production. And if they're coming to you with an idea, if they're coming to you with something creative, I've always felt it's never my job to shoot that down. And I was kind of taught that by the people who gave me a chance in the industry, being the younger person, and just to appreciate what everyone's doing and what everyone is bringing to the production. So that was, I think, probably the best advice that I've ever been given, and that I've kind of always kept reminding myself on and strive to act on.
Yeah. That's great. You're right. Absolutely. Everybody's there for a reason. Everybody's part of the team. Everyone's trying to push the production further forward to a better and greater standard all the time, I guess. So far in your career, what would you say professionally is your proudest achievement?
Oh, God, there's been a few pinch yourself moments. I think probably the main key moment of that for me was we did Westlife's, the Irish band's tour last year, and it was them coming back together after a good few years, and there were several things that went wrong in the production and the rehearsal time frame. That it was to a stage where we all thought, is this going to happen? Are we actually going to get through this?
Right.
And kind of my team clubbed together. We all looked at the cards that we'd been dealt, and it meant we were there from 9 a.m. in the morning through to 6, 7 a.m. reprogramming the show because of different things that had gone wrong, whether it was with music, whether it was elements of the set that weren't built properly or something. And so that, I think, because the pressure was on so much and the time frame was narrowing throughout that whole week of rehearsals so rapidly, that was certainly, I think, when the house lights went out and when the crowd go wild, that was one big sigh of relief and a proud moment that I still treasure now.
You could pull it all together with everything stacked against you by the sound of it.
Exactly.
So when you're not in the studio or not, facing almost insurmountable odds in an arena somewhere, what do you normally do in your downtime?
I love to travel. If ever I can get a minute to go and see part of the world that I haven't seen or haven't explored, then I love to do that. My partner's the same as well. It's hard between the pair of us to find that time, but when we do, we'd love to pick a spot of the world that we've never seen and jump on a plane and go and explore for a week or so. Right. Just disconnect from the rest of the world, which I think is a good thing mentally.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Having trying to find that balance and being able to switch off, at least from work, and sometimes just go off the grid completely, I think is more and more important.
I couldn't agree more.
Obviously, you mentioned you've worked all around the world, in tons of different countries and different places with different people. Is there a best venue or a favorite venue that you have?
We did Croke Park in Ireland last year in Dublin, which was very special. I think whenever you're in anywhere that size and full of that amount of people and you're doing a live show, just to I think that place holds around 80,000 mega fans all going crazy. There's no other better buzz in the world than that, especially when it's something that you've been a part of and something that you've worked for so long on creating alongside your team. Like just a place that size really does give you the goosebumps, I think.
Right. If there was one album or one artist that, you know, if you got stranded again, you know, as part of the pandemic, we've all been, you know, spending some time at home. Is there one album or one artist that you would just always want to have on your playlist or with you at time?
The music I listen to is such a wide genre, depending on what mood I'm in. I'm a great fan of a Pandora playlist.
Right.
And so, like, if it's a Sunday morning, the Sunday brunch one will come on. If I'm like having drinks at home with some friends, then we'll like put the dance or pop music on. And I don't necessarily say I'm ever tied to one artist. I'll get like hooked on songs that I really like, and then I'll play and I'll play and I'll play until I hate them.
And then
yeah, and then on to the next.
Okay, so now if you could spin back in time and go and visit the teenage Tom and offer, you know, one piece of advice, what would that be?
I think if I could go back, I was always so nervous, and you were always put, I think anyone coming into the industry these days put such pressure on themselves to try and be the biggest person that they can be in the shortest amount of time. And I think I'd just tell myself that it's going to be all right. Like, just take it one day at a time, get stuck in, love what you do, be involved, be nice. And I just tell myself, look, don't worry about it. Like, you know, if you love what you do, if you're passionate enough about what you do, then you'll get there and you'll figure it out, and there'll be a way. And I think I go back and I reassure myself of that.
Right. Yeah. No, that's very good advice. That really is. Okay, so if you could sit down for a cup of coffee with any one person, they could be living, they could be dead. Who would that be?
I'm actually going to say my grandfather here.
Okay.
He was a man who was a commander of an RAF base, and he has stories from when he was all over the world. Some crazy ones, some not so crazy ones, some that I'm not sure he should have told me. And he's just this man who's always just, he can talk to anyone, no matter how old you are, and he's just the most charming man who has brought such joy to my life, and I think has been a very good guide of getting me to where I've kind of got to. And I can just sit with him for hours while he'll regale like all of these stories, and it's great. I haven't managed to get home because of COVID for almost a year now, so I'm missing them. But yeah, he's one guy who I love to sit there and have a cup of coffee with and put them on.
Sounds fantastic. We'll have to maybe we'll have to get him on 10 out of 10.
Yeah. I mean, how long have you got? Because he'll be here for hours.
Right. We'll run out of YouTube.
Yeah, exactly.
Brilliant. Okay. And as if by magic, we're up to our final question already. So I've realized obviously you're sitting in Los Angeles at the moment, but we'll make it the British. So you're going to get a phone call in a moment from the British Olympic team, and they're going to call you up to compete for them. So it could be either the Summer Games or the Winter Games. That's your choice. But the question is, what sport are they calling you up for?
So when I was younger, I was actually a diver. Okay. I was a springboard diver, and I did that up until, well, I was probably about 16. So I was a little Tom Daley without the abs, but that's what I did for a good amount of time, and then I kind of gave it up when I got more and more into this industry. So I think I'd probably pick that back up. It's quite a fun sport when I wasn't hurting myself going splat off a diving board.
Right. Yeah, it's an amazing thing to watch, you know, especially when people are jumping off backwards and getting all these spins and twists and everything in, and still being able to not do a belly flop is incredible.
Yeah, exactly. I wasn't quite the best in the world, but I did used to love it. It was great fun.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic, brilliant. Oh, there we go. That's always something fun to watch.
Yeah.
Tom, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much. Obviously, I know at the moment you're in the studio, you're doing some work, so I really appreciate you being able to find some time for us.
No, thank you.
And share these absolute gems of your story so far, and and some great words of wisdom there and inspiration. So thank you very much.
No, thank you so much for having me. Pleasure.
All right. We look forward to catching up in person as soon as possible. Until then, stay safe.
Yeah, thank you.